Good day, everyone, and welcome to Obidient Family TV. The program is Hope Alive. Yes, there is hope, and the new Nigeria is possible. Now, good morning, afternoon, and evening, depending your time zone. Once again, we are here to have discussion on the things that are happening in Nigeria, especially as we see that anarchy is looming in Rivers State. You can imagine when a federal high court sitting in Abuja, Wike's court of course, has today stopped the Central Bank of Nigeria. That is under other commercial banks from further releasing monthly financial allocations to the Rivers State government, stripping Sim Fubara of his powers to manage Rivers State. That we'll be discussing. And again, we'll be talking about the discussion that ensued between the United States President Biden and Chief Bola Tinubu. What motivated the release of the Binance executive, who of course we know, as they said, contravened the laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He was released without any form of conviction, and Biden reached out to Tinubu. We are going to be having the discussion on what they said. We have videos of what transpired. And the tweet also that is coming from Joe Biden, the United States President. And finally, today again, Alex, they saw the trending news across this week, which has to do with the assault on the boat driver. We'll be having a brief discussion also on Alex Mascot Ikweche, who was docked today in court and was granted a bail of 500,000. And what the House of Rep members and the executives are talking about that we'll be bringing to you. And I'm not the only one to have the discussion. I have Angel in the studio and active Nigerians joining us on Zoom to have reactions in all of this that is happening in Nigeria.
Good day, my well-active citizens and obedient worldwide. Welcome. Tell your neighbor, say hope day, but not in our leaders or in our politicians, but in God. My obedient family, a new Nigeria is possible if we can get our priorities right. Welcome. Let's discuss.
Yes, let's start this very discussion briefly of this very high court before we get to our people on Zoom. Angel, I know earlier before we came into the show, you were very furious on the on what is happening in Rivers State and supposedly the acts of Wike trying to, of course, overthrow a sitting governor in Rivers State by all means necessary. So what's your take quickly?
Yeah, my take on it is for the Rivers State people, stand up and said enough is enough. One man interest cannot overshadow the whole state interest. Yes, it's only you people can say enough is enough for Wike. He has ruled Rivers State for 8 years. Let him rest. Let him rest. Yeah, let Rivers State people have rest and let him allow Fubara to do his own work.
Yes, Angel.
Because this is just a distraction.
Yeah, being a distraction. The point is this. Today, the courts seriously deal with something that we have been talking about for a long time, but it happened today, which is stopping him from accessing money that women, children, school, and all of that in Rivers State to survive, because without him having access to their locations, he can't even execute his budget. He cannot build schools. He cannot maintain his road and several other things that pertains to local government.
That's why I said the people of Rivers State should stand up and said enough is enough. There is an adage in my language that said, if a community cook for one person, the person can, if one person cook for a community, they will finish it. But whereby the community cooks for one person, it's not possible for that person to finish it.
That is good.
So that is the major thing for the Rivers people to say, Wike, enough.
Okay.
Because it's distracting Fubara.
It's all right. I think I get that very point right clearly, yes. So the Rivers people, you've heard from Angel. But let's move on to the reactions of our own people and that are joining us on Zoom. I'll be starting with Mr. Aka Peters, who, of course, is popularly known as Randy Peters, who has joined us to, deliberate on this matter. So, Mr. Peters, I want to know what is your reaction to this Federal High Court sitting in Abuja, which we call, of course, Wike's court, that has stopped Central Bank of Nigeria from further releasing monthly financial allocations to this Rivers State government managed by Sim Fubara. What is your reaction to this very order coming from the court, and what is the effect that you see happening in Rivers State?
Very much for having me. My people all over the world, I greet you all too. What I see happening is a further, not just tyranny in government and rascality. It is an attempt to destabilize an entire region. And as Angel has rightly said, I will only extend it to the fact that not only Rivers people, but every Nigerian must be concerned about the situation that is unfolding in Rivers State. This issue began barely few months into at the coming of a new government by Fubara, and then a house decided, instigated by the former governor, that to impeach on a governor on no legitimate grounds. Until today, the judiciary is playing a key role in the destabilization of its entire state. And mind you that Rivers State is so strategically positioned in the south-south that whatever happens in Rivers has ripple effect across the region. Delta will feel it, Bayelsa, Akwa Ibom, Cross River, Edo. And then it is happening under the same government of Chief Tinubu, who during his own time as governor went to court to challenge the federal government of Obasanjo for stopping allocations to the local government. And today there is a brazen and blatant abuse of power, misuse of power. A seventh minister is trying to control the architecture and apparatus of power in a state he had opportunity to govern for 8 years. It is a travesty that should not be allowed to stand. And as my colleague has said, Nigerians and Rivers people must come to unite and redeem their state and save it from the brinks of this collapse.
Thank you very much, Aka, on that. Let's take your reaction quickly on the issue of Mr. Biden, that is Joe Biden, the United States president, who obviously tweeted on X that he actually spoke with Chief Bola Tinubu. But let me bring that. There is actually a video of one of the Chief Bola Tinubu's aides who actually came out to elaborate on that matter, because Nigerians were seriously reacting. But before that video comes on, let me read out the tweet to the audience to understand. This is President Biden's tweet, POTUS. He said, earlier, I spoke with President Tinubu of Nigeria to express my condolence on the flood impacting his country and my appreciation for his leadership in securing the humanitarian release of Tigran Gambaryan. We also spoke about value of our partnership. This is coming from President Biden. But let's see the reaction from the Nigerian part, because they actually took this seriously. Let's take a listen to the video of the aide to the president, who came out to make proud of them, of Chief Bola Tinubu having spoken to President Biden. So let's take a listen to that, and then we'll come back and then get some of the reactions.
Directed by Mr. President to brief you with regards to his phone call with U.S. President Joseph Biden at about 4 p.m. today, where the two leaders exchanged pleasantries, and President Biden proceeded to thank President Tinubu for his partnership and for Nigeria's partnership, and in particular for the collaboration between the two countries with regards to law enforcement and law enforcement agencies, as well as the release of one of the suspects of the the cryptocurrency exchange company that we're all aware of here. And in response, President Tinubu also thanked him and the US for the partnership and collaboration in numerous areas, and also discussed the issue of collaboration with regards to security in Africa, and in particular West Africa. And President Biden equally assured that this is a partnership that will continue, and he stated, as a matter of fact, not just once, but at least twice, that the future of the world resides in Africa, which is why it was important for this partnership to continue. And the two leaders also discussed the issue of the permanent seats in the United Nations Security Council. And President Biden once again assured that the United States is committed to
and that is we are going to cut this off short. That is the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tugra, who actually elaborated much on the talk about Biden calling Chief Bola Tinubu. Now, Mr. Randy, let's get this very thing off. You know, it has been a buzz for them. They seem like they have graduated to the point of Joe Biden speaking with Tinubu happens to be a big deal. But from the tweet that Biden sent out, it seems to suggest that he's calling in respect of the flood victim, you know, to condole with Nigerians. But I recall that whenever such a condolence call reacts coming from the US, it normally comes with some sort of support for the people who actually were the flood victims, as the case might be, or the flood state. I know that several Nigerians has contributed millions to billions in support of the flood victim that Joe Biden was talking about. But at the same time, we see no sort of support coming from the US in this manner. So what's your thought on this about and the hyping of Chief Bola Tinubu discussions with Joe Biden?
It is unfortunate where Nigeria is as a country. When a government is failing or is failed, it begins to seek validation and legitimacy from other figures. Nigeria is a country of more than 200 million people, the largest market that should be in Africa and should be the United States of the African continent. But Nigerian government and politicians are celebrating a call from the US president. Not only the tweet of the US president, there is a readout of that call by the US mission in Nigeria. The long and short of that conversation is the US president calling to acknowledge the release of a US citizen, Tigran Gabayan, who was alleged to have committed some offenses. If not, if you look at it in a normal situation, a flood that took place started sometime in September. The major one was in Maiduguri, and then we have had others. And then the US president somehow called today in October to condole. And then again, in the readout from the call, the conversation was centered on thanking the pre-Tinubu government for the release of the US citizen. What exactly has been the policy of the US concerning Nigeria since Biden was in power? Biden has never visited Africa as the president. The US vice president visited Africa early this year. She went to Ghana, went to Namibia, never visited Nigeria. In fact, the Kenyan president was invited to the US on a state visit, a full state visit. And the Nigerian president, that is supposed to be the largest country on the continent, was ignored. So we can continue to pick up scraps and be celebrating them. We can continue to celebrate, the Minister of Foreign Affairs. If you hear Ambassador Toga, you will think maybe Biden and Tinubu are supposed to be, they were in one room having a glass of wine together. But that is where we have found ourselves, that we do not take pride and legitimacy in our own strength as a government. We need foreign bodies. And as you also said, the issue of donations, the US and others had contributed at a time, some foreign agencies, I beg your pardon, to the Borno issue. But if you want to look and introspect, do we need foreign aid to be able to help victims of disaster? US just dealt with 2 hurricanes within a space of 1 week. Who sent them package? Nigeria will have to wait for relief because the political class do not have the capacity to fend for their own people. It is just an absurdity.
Very much, on that, the reaction. Before I let you go, I want you also to react on the issue of the Honorable Alex Mascot, if you wish to call him Honorable, who today was docked in Abuja Magistrates Court, sitting in Kuje for allegedly assaulting a boat driver, As you know, the lawmaker who is representing Aba North and South Federal Constituency pleaded not guilty today to the first information report coming from the Nigerian police force against him. The charge against him bordered on abuse of office, assault, and threat to life of the boat driver. What is your take on this plea of innocence coming from him?
Thank you very much, sir. There was, in 2023, there was one particular presidential candidate that who kept hammering on the fact that we need to make law enforcement responsible and responsive. And we must strengthen Nigerian institutions to be able to dispense justice. That was the position of one candidate that that I know. The reason why we are discussing this is because Nigerians know that there is a complete trust deficit between them and their institutions. If not, on a normal day, a federal lawmaker cannot on any ground threaten a citizen that he can carry out forced disappearance of that citizen without consequences. And as we are talking, that person is still seated in the hallowed chambers. It is a travesty of a nation. With the forced disappearance of people who criticize government that we have seen, a sitting lawmaker brazenly and comes out openly to say, I will beat you, lock you in my generator house, I can make you disappear, nothing will happen. And today we are still going back and forth. The deputy speaker said he has apologized. He was very emotional. He was touched. Meaning there are 2 systems of justice in Nigeria, one for the poor, one for the rich. If the reverse was the case and the lawmaker was a victim of assault and threat, would we be discussing this today? Or will that citizen today have taken? And if there was no video, what would we have been saying today? So my take on it is that Nigerians, when all of us are ready, we must come together and dismantle this criminal structure of leadership and government and build a system that guarantees justice for everybody, because that is the only way we can achieve peace. There can be no peace and prosperity without justice.
Yes, there will be no peace.
But finally, before you go, just talking about peace, I'm looking at the looming anarchy in Rivers State because talking about a state of emergency and the removal of Simfubara from office, I want you to finally point out your last take on this before I let you go, please.
Get that last statement clearly.
Yeah, the looming anarchy that is brewing in Rivers State about the removal of Governor Simfubara, because that is what is, yes, because that is what is looking like, is to remove him as a governor in that very state, and they are none other than moving for a state of emergency. That is what we are seeing is leading up to, because when he can no longer be able to manage the issues around governance, which has to do with security of lives in the place without funds, I mean, ultimately, anarchy will set in and a whole lot of things will go bad. So, just your final words on that before I let you go.
We are the precipice. The entire state is sitting on a keg of gunpowder, and anybody who means well, the president must rein on his minister to allow Rivers State to move ahead. Remember that Rivers State, this is a region that was already dealing with the issues of oil and bunkering and all of that. There is the, Asari Dokubo group of people who have been making various threats. This is a place we have been talking about the infiltration of small and light weapons and arms. And by the time you continue to push people to a wall, when people become incorrigible, youth can become irate, and then it will become a clash where they will begin to see unnecessary and the wanton loss of innocent life. There are government infrastructure in Rivers and in the South. It is a lose-lose situation when you have this kind of anarchy. The government must know that it is your responsibility to return political stability to the people of Rivers State and the entire nation. This is an unacceptable situation, and the fire that these persons may be lighting might end up engulfing even those who are lighting it, because you only know the beginning of violence. You never know the end, and nobody has the monopoly to violence. So let all parties know that you must come to a compromise and allow Rivers people to have peace for the name of God.
Thank you so much, Peter Aka, for coming to us.
Well respected, and of course, I believe that you have hit the nail in the head. Thank you once again. We hope to have you tomorrow on our program, because your contributions is really very impactful. Thank you so much for being with us today. Now let's move to move to Mr. Bassi now, who of course will be taking his reactions next. Mr. Bassi, the Federal High Court in Abuja, I want you to react to these three things, of course, that is already established by Mr. Randy Peters here, and that has to deal with the Federal High Court in Abuja, who has stopped the Central Bank of Nigeria from releasing financial allocations to Rivers State government. Today, but let me be specific, that the court held today that the receipt and disbursement of the monthly allocations since January this year by Governor Siminalayi Fubara is a constitutional somersault, an aberration that must not be allowed to continue. According to Justice Joyce Abdul Malik, who issued the order today, held that the presentation of the 2024 budget by the Fubara four-man Rivers State Assembly was an affront to the constitutional provisions in the 1999 as amended. Specifically, the judge said that Fubara's action in implementing unlawful budgets smarts gross violation of the 1999 Constitution he swore to protect. What is your reaction? And then add the other two things that we discussed about. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Kanu. Thanks for having me, and good evening, studio panelists and Zoom panelists. Rule of law is an intangible asset of any nation. But we have noticed over time that has been trampled upon with series of judgment or orders that comes out of the court. It's unfortunate that we are setting a wrong precedent in the issues that concern Rivers State. And let me also state here that it does appear that the rule of law in Nigeria is one-sided. It's meant for certain set of people. When it favors them, they will call it rule of law. or they will begin to agitate for rule of law. What the court had done to yesterday, or today rather, is it's a precedent that is going to take us into anarchy if care is not taken. Like the first speaker had alluded to in his presentation, if you know the volatile nature of Niger Delta region, no government would want us to return back to that era of militancy in that area. But it does appear that the enabler of Nyesom Wike are trying to plunge this nation into anarchy. And at this point, I must also say that it's a shame that the elders of Rivers State have allowed Wike to run amok, because this thing has been happening, and I have not really seen most of these leaders taking a definite stand in bringing this issue to a stop. Because at the end of the day, the people that are suffering this are the people of Rivers State. I have always said that Wike is not the first person who had been the governor of a state and has anointed his successor. Across the nation, we have governors who have anointed their successors, and we have not heard this kind of controversy as that of Rivers State. So if we are not careful, the Rivers issue is going to plunge this nation into anarchy. And so we need to watch out. We must understand that the governor needs to be allowed to govern the state. When people say compromise, I don't understand what they mean by compromise. The only compromise I'm seeing here is Wike should take his hands off Rivers State and allow the governor to do his work. That you brought him out to become a governor out of obscurity, a political non-entity, does not give you the impetus to now want to ride over his leadership. That is not supposed to be, and it should not be allowed. But unfortunately, the courts are the one helping him to achieve this thus far. And so, any case that is coming from Wike or pro-Wike can be guaranteed that we'll have a favorable judgment from the Federal High Court in Abuja. That is a sad situation. And the judges that are sitting down perpetuating all of this must also watch out. Because when this thing comes, become a full-blown, they themselves will not be saved out of this situation. So I would say that for now, I know that those agencies, CBN, will be very quick to obey that court order. But meanwhile, we all know that agencies of federal government at various times were not obeying most of the court orders. But you see, when it comes to the issue of Rivers State, they will be quick to obey that order. All I can say is that good enough, today I saw a report from Budget that the only state who can survive without federal allocation in Nigeria today is Lagos and Rivers State. And so, if that is the case, I would also expect that while FUBRA is pursuing the appeal, it should focus on internal IGR to see how it can run the state and not allow governance to be grounded to a halt. That should be my my take in this. While they are pursuing the appeal to whatever level they are going to pursue it to. You see, because when you see some of this rascality, some of this impunity going on, how can a court legitimize a group of people who have defected from a party? By the Constitution, those guys are not supposed to be. But here are the people that are even calling about the Constitution. They are already violating the Constitution by giving legitimacy to illegitimate group of people. So nobody is looking at that. Nobody is seeing that. But they will be quick to point a finger at Fubara for not obeying the court order. So you can see where we are as a nation, where a group of illegitimate people who have lost their seat by virtue of the Constitution have now been given legitimacy to perpetuate evil and create problem in the state. It's a sad situation. Then back to the issue of what was the other issue, please?
Yeah, the issue of supporting the U.S. President
Biden, but not supporting. Yes, please, very briefly.
To say on that, and because it's just it's a window dressing act. Why am I saying so? We all know what transpired. That these guys have our president in their hands. So whatever they want him to do, he must do it. So that is the situation. And we have lost our sovereignty to US by virtue of putting this current president on the saddle by INEC. So that is what we have done. Remember when Dati Ahmed said, if this government is sworn in, that will be the day the constitution of this country is dead. That will be the day that they have murdered democracy in this country. That is what is playing out today. And that is what we are seeing. Yes, please.
Yeah, Mr. Basi, something
to mind. Something comes to mind when you heard that Biden spoke to Tinubu, and that is to be like a payback. Recall that the FBI sometime last year envisaged sending out documents related to Bola Tinubu, which was, of course, hush-hush covered. Now, don't you think it's a payback for Tinubu to release somebody who is facing trial, because US cannot release a Nigerian citizen who is facing trial without acquitting that very person of the offense said to be committed? Don't you think that this is like a payback for not releasing those documents FBIs were supposed to release to the Nigerians?
Absolutely. Absolutely, it's a payback. It's a scratch my back, I scratch your back. And don't also forget that even in the few ones that that were released, those documents were redacted. So it was just to show that we have protected you. So now whatever we call on, you should also do same. So that is what it is. And like I said, we have lost our sovereignty to that of US, and so that's why US is will be able to sit down and then give instruction on what should be done. If you say somebody had violated our law, has the person been tried and found by the court that, oh, that law was not, he was acquitted, discharged and acquitted? He was never tried. All they did was kept him in detention and keep dancing about, and then all of a sudden they said the case had been dropped. On what purpose? Nobody, Attorney General had not briefed the nation why that case was dropped. It's just like that, and that was it. So it just tells you that somebody had I mean, press a button somewhere, and the other people decided to react and kill the case. That's what it is.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Bati. Let's
go on to Mr. Ako. Mr. Ako, yes, you know, looking at this US case, I see another point in it where somebody can be pardoned just for the sake of United States. But we have Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, who is, of course, the whole entire nation. Everybody in Nigeria had asked from Buhari to Tinubu to release Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, who is a Nigerian, by the way, but they have not done so. But releasing somebody from the US, that is on one part. But let's get your reaction on these things joined together briefly, Mr. Ako.
We all understand that the rule of law has no place in the heart of our so-called leaders. They obey what they choose to obey and exercise their powers over whatever circumstances they choose to. The president, in person of Tinubu, he solely decided to release the Binance executive, even though he was accused without any substance of evidence against him. That being said, if it were to be an average masses on the street, we all know what will be going through in the hands of the law enforcement. He will have been in jail rotting by now. But due to foreign influence, he has been released. That being said, in respect to Rivers, it has becoming a recurring decimal, and it's quite boring that over time we keep repeating topic on Rivers and all that. And who is the key factor here? Wike, the ex-governor of the state. I mean, for crying out loud, it's archaic to be having godfatherism in Nigerian politics up to this moment. Since 1960, we are still discussing issue of godfatherism. Wike claimed to have helped Fubara. Wike, where was he when Jonathan was in power? Someone helped him to become governor. Somebody helped him all through. So why is he now making a case out of Fubara that he helped him to become governor? Everyone in life needs help at one point or the other. Having helped that person is not a right to now want to dictate to an executive governor of the state. And I strongly support Governor Fubara. Whatever is being done to hijack the state allocation, he should not worry. It will surely drop. In no distant time, during the administration of Obasanjo, Lagos State was starved of federal government allocation for 1 year, and they survived it. So Rivers will also survive it. But one thing I want to encourage the people of Rivers State is that they should wake up and fight the monster in Wike that is trying all it can to frustrate the effort of their able government, because everyone have his own tenor to rule, and he should not frustrate Governor Fubara. If all caution are thrown to the air like they are doing now, I see anarchy in no distant time, because the people cannot continue to tolerate this illegality and the shenanigans that have been portrayed by Wike. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Akpo.
Let's quickly take Tony. Tony, you've been patient, and please give us your reaction on the subject matter of course, as you know, the Federal High Court, even the Federal Justice, the High Court Chief Justice John Soho has disclosed why he cannot transfer the suit on Rivers State political crisis to Port Harcourt from Abuja. that very head of, he said that he believed that the administrative power that we know to move cases the same way that he has moved judges around the country, he has that power to move those cases, but he has not done so. When we know that the function royal to Minister of Federal Capital Territory, Wike, has been instituting cases of this nature and engulfing the state in Abuja, where it is believed that Wike's influence can assess favorable rulings. What is your take on this subject, Mr. Tony?
Yeah, good evening, and I'm glad to be here. The US president, let me start from there first, calling Chief Tinubu, for me, I'm seeing it from a different angle. You know, calling to commiserate with the flood victims, flooding that happened how many weeks ago? And they're telling us that was one of the reasons he called, and to thank the president for the release of the Bien's executive. I don't buy that. The reason I say that is, these people, I mean the Americans, they have good intelligence. A US president does not customarily call another president for the release, to thank him for the release of an accused person. I haven't seen it happen since many years. I've been following the US politics. The thing is, they know that there is trouble in this country. The US intelligence people are monitoring what is going on in this country. And I can bet you that because of that, the US president picked up the phone and then called Bola Tinubu. They don't want us to know what they discussed, so they used other issues to camouflage the main issue, which I think they discussed. We shall live to see, because they know that this country is headed in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Another area I can also add to it is the BRICS. Nigeria did not join as a full member of that organization. Instead, they said they're joining as a partner country. The US is not happy for some of these countries rushing to join BRICS, because BRICS openly is trying to have an alternative to US dollar in the world exchange space. And US, they don't like it. US government, they don't like it. That's that. So let's see what happens down the line. That this call is not just a mere call. They don't want us to know exactly what the issues they discussed. Coming to River State.
Yes,
remember that job?
Can you do reverse?
Our time is really up.
Yes.
Okay.
River State, you remember that judge declined every petition.
Objection.
Yeah. Yes. The other side filed. Every one of them. She rejected it. Looks like she was in a rush to make pronounce this judgment, and she did. So I think I will advise the Rivers government to proceed to appeal court, and appeal this judgment. It was a kangaroo judgment. You see, these people have been hijacked. We all know that. A lot of people are saying that the judiciary is in the pocket of one person, one guy. It's unheard of in any civilized country. I can't imagine that happening in a state like Nigeria, where one man can handle the judiciary, and then they will do whatever he wants them to do. They should really wake up and fight this judgment. Wike cannot win this fight. And somebody said, if the judiciary does that at the Supreme Court, that is, denies River State the allocation, then the Nigerian judiciary is dead. So, other panelists have mentioned some of the things that are cogent. So, they should do this.
All right, thank you very much. But let me just express this so that you understand that
the River State government, Sim Fubara, has already initiated a notice of appeal to the Court of Appeal. But you also need to understand that Wike's wife is already a member of the Court of Appeal. So let's see how all of these things pans out. And for you viewers, thank you very much for being with us today. As you note, go to the comment section. Tell us how you feel about the River State and the impending anarchy looming in River State. How do you feel? Go to the comment section and tell us how you feel about that. That is as much as we can take today. And of course, Angel still with me here in the studio without do the needful.
Yes, so Rivers people, wake up, stand up for your rights. One man, Wike, have pocketed most of the federal justices. He cannot pocket River State. You people will say no to it. Stand up and say no. One man cannot overpower a whole state. It's not possible. Thank you so much, Mr. Bassi, Mr. Tony, Mr. Christian. Thank you so much, Mr. Peter. We appreciate you. God bless you for always coming along to stay with us. We appreciate you. God bless you. My fellow Obidient worldwide, my active citizens, thank you so much. Like, subscribe. Let others know what is going on. That Wike and Tinubu, we don't know where they are heading to. But our people, we are much, much bigger and higher than them. One person cannot overpower the whole nation or the whole state. We appreciate you, we thank you, we love you, but God loves you more. Bye for now.